Hey everyone, it is Aussies Elect here. I am finally back, and the first thing I want to discuss with everyone is the possibility of the coalition getting a blocking majority in the next election, which will most likely be in 2022, so a long time. Of course, this is not talking about if there is going to be a double dissolution, which I highly doubt will happen. So a blocking majority is 38, and that's because to pass any legislation through the Senate, you need 39 seats. And so if you have 38, which is half, you're able to block anything. So here's what the Senate looks like currently. And it wasn't a very good election for Labor. Um, they were only won one seat in Queensland, which was particularly bad. A lot of people talked about it. The coalition managed to get 3 seats in almost every state. One Nation only got 1 seat. They probably should have gotten two if it was proportional. And Lambie just got her seat, which I was personally very happy about. At the moment, if you look at it, you can see what issues the coalition currently have, or lack of issues that they have. So they've got Cory Bernardi, who almost always votes alongside the government because he is an ex-Liberal member and really holds pretty similar ideologies to a lot of people currently in the Liberal Party. You got One Nation who have voted against certain things, but a lot of the time vote with the coalition. Things such as the cashless welfare card, for example. The Centre Alliance, which once again kind of vote sometimes with the coalition, sometimes not. And then you got Jackie Lambie, which usually is the balance of power because the coalition managed to rope in Cory Bernardi, one of these two, and then she's kind of the deciding vote. Not a too bad Senate for the coalition, given I think they needed something like 8 senators last time. Now they only need 4, or really 3, because Cory Bernardi is not only very similar to them, he's also an independent now because the Australian Conservatives actually have uh, they've gone, and then soon when he quits, that seat will go to a Liberal Party member because that is Cory Bernardi was originally a Liberal Party member, and so his seat will be filled by the same member of the party he was elected to. So the coalition next election, I mean, if we were to just repeat the exact same result and just say it's 2 elections in a row, um, the parliament would look like this. So yeah, the coalition will need both One Nation and Lambie to pass legislation. If we, however, gave coalition that other seat, well, we'll put that there actually. So because Lambie is already in the parliament, she won't be running, and she won't have that star name power that will be on the ballot for the Jackie Lambie network. It will just be some random, and there's a good chance that Lambie's party will not win that last seat without her name, and that seat will revert to being a coalition seat. Of course, there's a good chance that seat could go to Labor. Tasmania historically often is the most likely place for Labor to get 3 seats. And with the Greens getting an extra seat, so that could happen. But yes, this is almost the blocking majority. The coalition could pass anything with only One Nation support, which is very good for them. But it is not quite a blocking majority. The Labor Party could, if they got One Nation and Lambie on their side, pass legislation. It will be very difficult for them, but they would be able to. So this is not quite a blocking majority, and I cannot really see a way for a blocking majority to really happen. The coalition getting 3 seats, it is only South Australia, they only just really do it. Same as Victoria, sort of like that in New South Wales. Tasmania with the lack of opposition, but I think that seat could easily go back to Labor, even if Labor don't really have tremendous swing to them. And Queensland, they already have 3 seats plus One Nation. So the only real way that a blocking majority could happen is if somehow they get 4 seats in Western Australia, which what will they need to get 4 seats? I think they'll need to get something like 56% of the vote. I don't think it's going to happen. The other scenario is this kind of thing, which again I think is unlikely. Western Australia is not that right wing. New South Wales is the other possible option if the Labor Party do something to really piss the people off, but I still think it is quite unlikely for the coalition plus One Nation to somehow get 56% in any state other than Queensland. Queensland is easily the most conservative state, and them doing this twice in a row was a big feat. I don't think the Labor Party will let the coalition get so far ahead in Queensland. I think that is going to be their number one priority. So even this repeating again, I'm not really sure if that's going to happen. So yes, fear not all those who fear a blocking majority. I do not think it is going to happen. Oh, I should have done this, but same thing. Same thing. So, look, I had my issues with the Senate voting reforms. I think that the system we have now is far from perfect. Did we need reform when we made those Senate voting reforms back in 2016? I believe we did need reform. And I think that our system now definitely has its benefits over the old system. Thankfully, even with its issues, it would be very unlikely for the coalition to get a blocking majority. Yes, I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think it can happen. If you mean a blocking majority of the coalition plus One Nation, or the coalition plus Lambie, sure, that can definitely happen, but the coalition will not be able to get a blocking majority on its own. But yes, there are scary times ahead for the Senate. The Centre Alliance soon will be no more. The Australian Conservatives do not exist, and I do not believe that any of these other parties, apart from One Nation, are actually going to get another seat. I will be doing an official predictions video, but I can't promise it will be that interesting because the number of minor parties getting representation in the Senate has come to its most grandness in the 2013 and 2016 elections, and I do not believe that it will ever be repeated in a half Senate election. A double dissolution absolutely could bring a large number of crossbenchers back, and I will be discussing the 2019 election under a double dissolution in another video, which is actually very interesting. But whilst the Senate voting reforms may not have given the coalition a blocking majority, it will signal the end of the large crossbench, even if proportionally they do deserve to have representation in the Senate. That's its biggest issue. It doesn't necessarily mean the coalition will control everything. It does mean that they are massively overrepresented and many minor parties are underrepresented. That's the big issue. I still think, even though 37 is not a blocking majority, the fact that they can get to that number, which is almost at half of the number of Senate seats, whilst only scoring in the late 30s percentile in the Senate, is ridiculous, and it shows that the Senate voting reforms of 2016 do not work if you want it to be representative. There will almost certainly be no more Senate voting reforms in the near future, but if you want it to look much more representative, it will need to happen. How it could happen, once again, will be discussed in a different video. I think that's all for me for now. I will see you in the next video, which we will be discussing the double dissolution of the 2019 election. Thank you very much.